Hey friends, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's one of the most powerful ways you can help the channel grow. Every like, comment, and share that you leave in the first few hours of a video tells YouTube that our stories are worth pushing to a bigger audience. With your support, I know we can get to 25,000 subscribers by Halloween. Remember, we never have ads in the middle of our stories. And don't forget, if you want to rep The Darkest Hour, visit thedarkesthourYT.com for exclusive merch you won't find anywhere else. Thanks for being part of this journey. Now, on with the show. Enoch by Robert Bloch. It always starts the same way. First, there's the feeling. Have you ever felt the tread of little feet walking across your skull? Back and forth, back and forth. It starts like that. You can't see who it is. After all, it's on top of your head. If you're smart, you wait for a chance and suddenly brush a hand through your hair. But you can't catch the walker that way. He knows. Even if you clamp both hands flat to your head, he manages to wriggle through, somehow. He's terribly swift and can't be ignored. If the footsteps don't bother you, he wriggles down the back of your neck to whisper in your ear. You can feel his body, cold and tiny, pressed tightly against the base of your brain. It doesn't hurt. There must be something in his claws to numb the pain. Although later you'll find little scratches on your neck, bleeding profusely. And that cold, tiny something will still be there, pressing and whispering. That's when you try to fight him. You try not to hear what he says, because when you listen, you're lost, and you must obey him. Oh, he's wicked and wise. If you dare resist, he knows how to threaten you into submission. But I seldom try anymore. It's better to listen and obey. As long as I'm willing to listen, things don't seem so bad. He can also be soothing, persuasive, and tempting. He's promised me great things in that silken whisper, and he keeps his word. Folks think I'm poor because I never have money, and I live in this old shack at the edge of the swamp. But he's given me riches. After I do what he wants, he takes me away, out of myself, for days. There are other places besides this world, places where I'm a king. The people in town laugh at me, calling me Scarecrow. Yet sometimes, after I've done his bidding, he brings queens to my bed. Only dreams? I don't think so. It's the other life, the one in the shack. That's a dream. That part doesn't seem real anymore. Not even the killing. Yes, I kill people. That's what Enoch wants. That's what he whispers about. But I don't like it. I used to fight against it. I told you that, didn't I? But I can't anymore. I can't see or catch him. I can only feel and hear him and obey. Sometimes he leaves me alone for days. Then suddenly I feel him there, scratching away at the roof of my brain. I hear his whisper, and he tells me about someone who is coming through the swamp. I don't know how he knows about them. He couldn't have seen them, yet he describes them perfectly. There's a bum walking down Aylsley Road, a short, fat man with a bald head. His name is Mike. He's wearing a brown sweater, blue overalls. He's going to turn into the swamp in about 10 minutes when the sun goes down. He'll stop under the big tree next to the dump. You should hide behind the tree and wait until he starts looking for firewood. Then, you know what to do. Get the hatchet. Hurry. Sometimes I ask Enoch what he'll give me. but usually I just trust him. I'm going to have to do it anyway, so I'd rather get it over with. Enoch is never wrong, and he keeps me out of trouble. Well, except for the last time. One night I was at home, eating supper, when he told me about this girl. "She's coming to visit you," he whispered. "A beautiful girl, all in black. She has wonderfully fine bones in her head." At first I thought he was telling me about one of my rewards, but Enoch was talking about a real person. "She'll soon come to the door and ask you to help fix her car. She had planned to take a side road into town, but now the car is well into the swamp, and one of the tires is flat." It sounded funny to hear Enoch talk about things like tires, but he knows about them. He knows everything. "You'll go to her when she asks. Don't take anything. She has a wrench in the car. Use that." This time I tried to fight him. I kept whimpering, "I won't do it. I won't do it." He only laughed, told me what he'd do if I refused. He told me over and over again. "It's better if I do it to her instead of you," Enoch reminded me. "Or would you rather I—" "No," I said. "No, I'll do it." "After all," Enoch whispered, "I can't help it. I must be fed every so often in order to stay alive, to stay strong, so I can give you things. And that's why you must obey me. If not, I'll simply stay right here and—" "No," I said. "I'll do it." And I did. She knocked on my door a few minutes later, and it was just as Enoch had said. She was a pretty girl with blonde hair. I like blonde hair. I was glad I didn't have to damage it. I hit her behind the neck with the wrench. Enoch told me what to do, step by step. After using the hatchet, I put the body into quicksand. Enoch was there, and he warned me about footprints, so I got rid of them. I was worried about the car, but he showed me how to use the end of a rotten log to pitch it in as well. I wasn't sure it would sink, but it did, and much faster than I would have believed. It was a relief to see the car go. I threw the wrench in after it, and Enoch told me to go home. Immediately, I felt the dreamy feeling come over me. Enoch promised something extra special for this one, and I sank into a deep sleep. I could barely feel the pressure in my head dissipate as Enoch left, scampering back into the swamp for his reward. I don't know how long I slept, but it must have been a long time. I only remember knowing Enoch was back and feeling that something was wrong. And then I heard the banging on my door. I waited for Enoch to tell me what to do, but he was asleep. He always sleeps afterwards. Nothing wakes him for days on end, and I usually enjoy the freedom, but not while I needed his help. The pounding grew louder, and I couldn't wait any longer. I opened the door, and old Sheriff Shelby came inside. "Come on, Seth," he said. "I'm taking you to jail." I didn't say anything. His little beady black eyes were peering everywhere in my shack. When he looked at me, I felt so scared I wanted to hide. He couldn't see Enoch, of course. Nobody can. But Enoch was there. I felt him resting very lightly on top of my skull, burrowed down under a blanket of hair, clinging to my curls and sleeping like a baby. Emily Robin's parents said she was planning to cut through the swamp, the sheriff said. We followed the tire tracks up to the old quicksand. Enoch had forgotten about the tracks. "Anything you say can be used against you," Sheriff Shelby said. "Come on, Seth." I went with him. There was no other choice. We went into town, and a mob tried to rush the car. There were even women in the crowd. They kept yelling for the men to get me, but Sheriff Shelby held them off, and I was finally tucked away safe and sound in the jailhouse. He locked me up in the middle cell, and the two on either side were vacant. I was all alone, except for Enoch, and he slept through everything. It was still pretty early, and Sheriff Shelby went out again with some other men. I guess he was going to try to get the body out of the quicksand. He didn't ask any questions, and I wondered about that. Charlie Potter was different. He wanted to know everything. Sheriff Shelby left him in charge while he was away. After a while, he brought me breakfast and hung around to ask questions. I just kept still. I knew better than to talk to a fool like Charlie Potter. He thought I was crazy, just like the mob outside. Most people in town think I'm crazy because of my mother and the way I live alone out in the swamp. What could I say to Charlie Potter? If I told him about Enoch, he'd never believe me, so I didn't talk. I listened. Then he told me about the search for Emily Robbins and how Sheriff Shelby started wondering about some other disappearances from a while back. He said there would be a big trial and the district attorney was coming down. He'd heard that they were sending a doctor to see me right away. Sure enough, just as I finished breakfast, the doctor came. Charlie saw him drive up and let him in. He had to move fast to keep the mob from breaking in with him. They wanted to lynch me, but Dr. Silversmith got in all right. He's a little man with one of those funny beards on his chin, and he made Potter go up front while he sat outside the cell and talked to me. Up to this point, I hadn't really felt anything. It had all happened so fast, I didn't get a chance to think. It was like part of a dream. The sheriff, the mob, the talk of a trial, and the body in the swamp. But somehow, the sight of Dr. Silversmith changed things. He was real, all right. You could tell he wanted to send me to the institution after they learned about my mother. That was one of the first things he asked, wanting to know what happened to my mother. He seemed to know quite a lot about me, and that made it easier to talk. Pretty soon, I found myself telling him all sorts of things, how we lived in the shack, and how my mother sold love potions. Then there was the big pot that we gathered herbs in at night, and at night, I'd hear strange noises from far away when she went off alone. I didn't want to say much more, but he already knew that they called her a witch. He even knew how she died. One evening, Santo Donarelli came to our door and stabbed her because his daughter ran away with a trapper after taking one of her potions. Dr. Silversmith knew I lived in the swamp alone now, too, but he didn't know Enoch was on top of my head, still sleeping, not knowing or caring what was happening to me. Somehow I was talking to Dr. Silversmith about Enoch. I wanted to explain that it wasn't really me who killed this girl. I had to mention Enoch and the bargain my mother made in the woods. She didn't let me come with her. I was only 12, but she took some of my blood in a little bottle. Then, when she came back, Enoch was with her. He was to be mine forever and always look after me. I told the doctor this very carefully and explained why I couldn't help myself now, because ever since my mother died, Enoch had guided me. Yes, all these years Enoch had protected me, just as Mother planned. She knew I couldn't survive alone. I admitted this to Dr. Silversmith because I thought he was a wise man who would understand. I knew almost immediately that I had been wrong. Dr. Silversmith leaned forward, stroking his little weird beard and saying, "Yes, yes," over and over. I could feel his eyes watching me, the same kind as the people in the mob, mean, prying, untrusting eyes. Then he began asking all sorts of ridiculous questions about Enoch at first, although I knew he was only pretending to believe in Enoch. He asked me how I could hear Enoch if I couldn't see him, and if I ever heard any other voices. He asked me how I felt when I killed Emily Robbins, and whether No, I won't even think about that question. He talked to me as if I were some kind of a crazy person. He had only been pretending not to know about Enoch. He proved that by asking me how many other people I had killed. And then he wanted to know where their heads were. He couldn't fool me any longer. I laughed at him, just laughed, and shut up tighter than a clam. After a while, he gave up and went away, shaking his head. I laughed at him because he wanted to know all of my mother's secrets, mine and Enoch's as well, but he didn't. And then I went to sleep. I slept most of the afternoon. When I woke up, there was a new man standing in front of my cell. He had a big, fat, smiling face and nice eyes. "Hello, Seth." He seemed very friendly. "Having a little snooze?" I reached up to the top of my head. I couldn't feel Enoch, but I knew he was there, still asleep. He moves fast even when he's sleeping. "Don't be alarmed. I won't hurt you," the man said. "Did that doctor send you?" I asked. "Of course not. My name's Cassidy, Edwin Cassidy. I'm the district attorney and I'm in charge here. Do you suppose I could come in, sit down?" he asked. "I'm locked in," I said. "I've got the keys from the sheriff," Mr. Cassidy said. He took them out, opened the cell, and walked right in, sat next to me on the bench. "Aren't you afraid? Don't you know I'm supposed to be a murderer?" I asked. "Why, Seth," Mr. Cassidy laughed. "I'm not afraid of you. I know you didn't mean to kill anybody." He put his hand on my shoulder, and I didn't draw away. It was a nice, fat, soft hand with a big diamond ring that twinkled in the sunshine. "How's Enoch?" he said. I jumped. "Oh, that's all right. That fool doctor told me when I met him down the street. He doesn't understand about Enoch, does he, Seth? But you and I do." "That doctor thinks I'm crazy," I whispered. "Well, just between us, Seth. It did sound a little hard to believe at first, but I've just come from the swamp. Sheriff Shelby and some of his men are still working down there. They found Emily Robbins' body a little while ago. And there's other bodies, too. A fat man, a small boy, and an Indian. The quicksand preserves them, you know." His eyes were smiling, so I knew I could trust this man. "If they keep going, they'll find other bodies, too, won't they, Seth?" I nodded. But I didn't wait any longer. I saw enough to understand you were telling the truth. Enoch must have made you do these things, didn't he? I nodded again. Fine," Mr. Cassidy said, pressing my shoulder. "See, we do understand each other. I won't blame you for anything you tell me." "What do you want to know?" I asked. "Oh, lots of things. I'm interested in Enoch, you see. How many people did he ask you to kill? Altogether, that is." 9, I said. "And they're all buried in the quicksand?" "Yes." "Do you know their names?" "Only a few." I told him the names I knew. "Sometimes Enoch just describes them for me and I go out to meet them," I explained. Mr. Cassidy sort of chuckled and took out a cigar. I frowned. "Don't want me to smoke, eh?" "Please, I don't like it. My mother didn't believe in smoking. She never let me." Mr. Cassidy laughed, but he put away the cigar and leaned forward. You can be a big help to me, Seth, he whispered. I suppose you know what a district attorney is? Isn't it a sort of a lawyer for trials and things? That's right. I'll be at your trial, Seth. You don't want to get up in front of all those people and tell them what happened, do you? No, I don't, Mr. Cassidy. Not those mean town people. They hate me. Then here's what you do. Tell me about all of it, and I'll talk for you. That's friendly enough, isn't it? I wished Enoch was there to help me, but he was asleep. I looked at Mr. Cassidy and made up my own mind. I told him everything I knew. After a while, he stopped chuckling, but only because he was getting so interested. One more thing, he said. We were able to identify several of the bodies from the swamp, but it would be easier if you could tell me where the heads are. I stood up and turned away. I can't tell you because I don't know, I said. Don't know? I give them to Enoch, I explained. Don't you understand? That's why I have to kill people, because he wants their heads. Mr. Cassidy looked puzzled. He always makes me cut off the heads and leave them behind, I went on. I put the bodies in the quicksand and go home. Then he puts me to sleep and rewards me. After that, he goes away, back to the heads. They're what he wants. Why does he want them, Seth? It wouldn't do you any good to find them. You probably wouldn't recognize anything, I said. Mr. Cassidy sat up and sighed. But why do you let Enoch do these things? If I don't, he'll do it to me. And that's what he's always threatened. He needs them, so I obey. Mr. Cassidy watched me while I paced, but he didn't say a word. He seemed to be very nervous all of a sudden, and when I came close, he leaned away. You'll explain all of that at the trial, won't you? About Enoch and everything? He shook his head. I'm not going to tell anyone about Enoch, and neither are you, Mr. Cassidy said. Nobody is going to know Enoch exists. Why? I'm trying to help you, Seth. Don't you know what people will say if you mention Enoch to them? They'll say you're crazy, and you don't want that to happen. No, but what can you do? How can you help me? Mr. Cassidy smiled. You're afraid of Enoch, aren't you? Well, I was just thinking, suppose you gave him to me. I gulped. Yeah, suppose you gave him to me. Let me take care of him during the trial. Then he wouldn't be yours, and you wouldn't have to say anything about him. He probably doesn't want people to know what he does, anyway. That's right, I said. Enoch would be very angry. He's a secret, you know. But I hate to give him to you without asking, and he's asleep. Asleep? Yes, on top of my skull. Only you can't see him, of course. Of course. Mr. Cassidy gazed at my head and chuckled again. Oh, I can explain everything when he wakes up. Once he knows it was for the best, I'm sure he'll be happy. Well, I guess it's all right then. But you must promise to take good care of him, I sighed. Sure, Mr. Cassidy said. And you'll give him what he needs? Absolutely. And you won't tell a soul. Not a soul. You know what will happen if you refuse to give him what he wants, right? He'll take it by force. I warned Mr. Cassidy. Don't you worry, Seth. I stood still for a minute, because I could suddenly feel something move toward my ear. Enoch, I whispered. Can you hear me? He heard. I explained how I was giving him to Mr. Cassidy, but Enoch didn't say a word. Mr. Cassidy didn't say a word either. He just sat there, grinning. I suppose it must have looked a little strange to see me talking to nothing. Go to Mr. Cassidy now, I whispered, and Enoch went. I felt the weight lift from my head. That was all. But I knew he was gone. Can you feel him, Mr. Cassidy? What? Oh, sure, he said, rising from his chair. Take good care of Enoch, I said. The best. Don't put your hat on, I warned. He doesn't like hats. Oh, sorry. I forgot. Well, Seth, I'll say goodbye now. You've been a mighty great help, and from now on, we can just forget about Enoch when it comes to telling anybody else. I'll come back again and talk about the trial. Dr. Silversmith is going to tell folks you're crazy. It would be best if you denied everything you told him. Now that I have Enoch, that is. That sounded like a fine idea. I knew Mr. Cassidy was a smart man. Whatever you say, just be good to Enoch, and he'll be good to you. Mr. Cassidy shook my hand. Then he and Enoch left. I felt tired again. Maybe it was the strain, or maybe I felt strange knowing Enoch was gone. Either way, I went back to sleep for a long time. It was night when I woke to Charlie Potter banging on the cell door, bringing me supper. He jumped and backed away when I said hello. Murderer, he yelled. They got 9 bodies out in the swamp, you crazy fiend. Why, Charlie, I always thought we were friends. Looney, I'm gonna get out of here and leave you locked up for the night. The sheriff will make sure nobody breaks in to lynch you, but I think he's wasting his time. Charlie turned the lights out and left. I heard him put on the padlock, and then I was all alone for the first time. It was strange. Me, alone, without Enoch. I ran my fingers across the top of my head. It felt bare and strange. The moon was shining through the window, and I stood there looking out at the empty street. Enoch always loved the moon. It made him lively, restless, and greedy. I wondered how he felt now, with Mr. Cassidy. I must have stood there for a long time. My legs were numb when I heard the fumbling at the door. The lock clicked open, and Mr. Cassidy rushed inside. Take him off me, he yelled. Take him away. What's wrong? I asked. Enoch, that thing of yours. I thought you were crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. But take him off. Why, Mr. Cassidy, I told you what Enoch was like. He's crawling around up there now. I can feel him. I can hear him. The things he whispers. But I explained all that, Mr. Cassidy. Enoch wants something, doesn't he? You know what it is, and you have to give it to him. You promised. I can't. I won't kill for him. He can't make me. He can, and he will. Mr. Cassidy gripped the bars on the cell door. Seth, you must help me. Call Enoch. Take him back. Make him come back to you. Hurry. All right, Mr. Cassidy. I called Enoch. He didn't answer. I called again, but he still didn't answer. Mr. Cassidy started to cry. I was shocked at first, but then I kind of felt sorry for him. He hadn't understood, after all. I know what it's like when Enoch whispers that way. He starts by coaxing you. He then pleads, and then he threatens. You'd better obey, I told Mr. Cassidy. Has he told you who to kill? Mr. Cassidy didn't pay me any attention. He kept crying, and then he suddenly opened the cell next to mine, went inside, and locked the door. "I won't," he sobbed. "I won't. You won't what?" I asked. "I won't kill Dr. Silversmith at the hotel and give Enoch his head. I'll stay here in the cell where I'm safe. Oh, you fiend, you devil." He slumped down, sideways, and I could see him through the bars dividing our cells, hunched over and tearing at his hair. "You'd better," I called out, "or Enoch will do something. Please, Mr. Cassidy, hurry." Then Mr. Cassidy moaned, and I guess he fainted. He didn't say anything else, and he stopped clawing. I called him once more, but he wouldn't answer. So what could I do? I sat in the dark corner of my cell and watched the moonlight. Moonlight always makes Enoch wild. Then Mr. Cassidy started to scream. Not loud, but deep down in his throat. He didn't move, just screamed. I knew it was Enoch, taking what he wanted. What was the point of looking? I couldn't have stopped him. And I had tried to warn Mr. Cassidy. No, I just sat there and held my hands to my ears until it was over. When I turned back around, Mr. Cassidy was still slumped against the bars, and only one sound could be heard. A purring. The soft, faraway purring of Enoch after he's eaten. Then I heard the scratching of Enoch's claws when he's frisky after being fed. The sound came from inside Mr. Cassidy's head. It was Enoch, all right, and he was happy now. I was happy too. I reached my hand through the bars, pulled the jail keys from Mr. Cassidy's pocket, opened the cell door, and I was finally free. There was no need to stay with Mr. Cassidy gone, and Enoch wouldn't be staying either. I called to him. "Here, Enoch." That was the closest I'd ever come to seeing Enoch, a white streak that came flashing out of a big red hole that he'd ate in the back of Mr. Cassidy's skull. Then I felt the soft, cold, flabby weight landing on my own head, and I knew he was home. I walked through the corridor, opened the outer jail door, and tiny feet began to patter on top of my brain. Together, we walked into the night. The moon was shining, everything was still, and I could hear Enoch's happy chuckling in my ear. Forgive me. Forgive me." His voice was less assured as he replied, "Get up and dry your eyes. I have things to be sorry for, too." No, she sobbed. He shook his head. "I never should have left you. You loved me. After it first happened, I could still feel the fire burning my face, and I was forced to accept that I would never see again, that for the rest of my life, I would be a thing of horror and death. It takes time to resign oneself to such a fate, but in this eternal darkness, a man's thoughts reach far below the surface and gradually calm. Today, I see with my imagination. I see our little house, our peaceful days, and your poor little face the night that I said goodbye. Except the judge couldn't imagine any of that, could he? It was only fair that I try to explain. They couldn't see past what you did to me. what you turned me into. They were going to send you to prison, where you would have slowly faded away. No matter how many years you suffered there, it wouldn't have restored my eyes. You were afraid when you saw me take the witness stand, weren't you? Did you believe I was going to condemn you? No, I could never have done that. Never. She was still crying with her face buried in her hands. How good you are. I'm just... In a jerky voice, she declared, I repent. I repent. I've done the most awful thing to you that a woman could do. Yet you begged for my acquittal. And now, you even find words of pity from me. How can I prove my sorrow? Oh, you are wonderful. Wonderful. He listened as she continued talking and weeping, his head thrown back, with his hands resting on the arms of his chair, seemingly emotionless. When she was calm again, he asked, What are you going to do now? I don't know. I'll rest for a few days. I'm so tired. Then I'll get a job, and I'll try to work in a shop or as a model. His voice was stifled as he asked next, Are you still as pretty as ever? But she didn't answer, so he added, I want to know if you're as pretty as you used to be. Still, she remained silent, and with a slight shiver, he murmured, It's dark now, isn't it? Turn on the light. Even though I can no longer see, I like to feel like there's light around me. Are you near the mantelpiece? Stretch out your hand. You'll find a switch there. Not even a sense of light could penetrate his eyelids, but thanks to her stifled gasp of horror, he knew the lamp was on. For the first time, she was able to see the results of her handiwork, of his terrifying face streaked with white swellings, red furrows, and 2 narrow black bands around his eyes. While he pleaded for her in court, she crouched in her seat, sobbing, not daring to look at him. Yet now, before this abominable thing, she grew sick with disgust. Still, he bore no anger as he murmured, I'm very different from the man you knew in the old days. I horrify you now, don't I? You shrink from me. She tried to keep her voice steady as she answered, Certainly not. I'm here, in the same place. Yes, now. But I still want you to come closer. If you only knew how the thought of your hands tempt me in my darkness, how I would love to feel their softness again. But I dare not. And yet, that's what I wanted to ask you. To let me feel your hands in mine, if only for a minute. The blind can get such marvelous memories from just a touch. Turning her head away, she held out her arm. Caressing her fingers, he murmured, Ah, how nice. Don't tremble. Let me try to imagine we are lovers again. But you're not wearing my ring. Why? I haven't taken yours off. Do you remember? You said it was our wedding ring. Why have you taken it off? I dare not wear it. You must put it on again. Will you wear it? Promise me. She stammered. I promise. He was silent for a little while. Then, in a calmer voice, It must be quite dark now. I'm so cold. If you only knew how cold it feels when you're blind. Your hands are warm. Mine are frozen. I haven't fully developed my sense of touch. They say it takes time. For now, I'm like a child, still learning. She let her fingers remain in his, sighing. Oh my God. My God. Speaking like a man in a dream, he continued, "I'm so glad that you came. I wondered if you would. I wanted to keep you for a long, long time, but I knew that wouldn't be possible. Life with me would be too sad. You see, when people have memories like ours, they must be careful not to spoil them. It must be horrible to look at me now, isn't it?" She tried to protest, and something that may have been a smile passed over his face. Why lie? I once saw a man whose mistress had thrown acid all over him. His face was not human. Women turned their heads as they passed, but he couldn't see them doing it, so he continued talking to them, even as they were shrinking away. I'm like that poet wretch, am I not? Even you, who knew me from before, now tremble with disgust. I can feel it. For a long time you'll be haunted by the memory of my face. It'll come between you and everything else. It's a painful thought. But enough about me. You said that you were going back to work. Tell me your plans. Come closer. I don't hear as well as I used to. Well, their armchairs were almost touching. She remained silent, and he sighed. I can smell you. I've longed for that scent. I bought a bottle of the perfume you always wore, but it didn't smell the same on me. When you wear it, it mixes with the scent of your skin and hair. Come closer. Let me drink it in. You're leaving and never coming back. Let me take in as much of you as I can this last time. You shiver. Am I truly so horrible? No, it's cold, she stammered. Why are you dressed so lightly? I don't believe you wore a cloak. And the streets must be damp but dreary in November. My, how you tremble. Do you remember how warm and comfortable our little home was? You used to lay your head on my shoulder, and I would hold you close to me. Who would want to sleep in my arms now? Come closer. Give me your hand. What did you think when your lawyer said I asked to see you? I thought I should come. Do you still love me? Her voice was only a breath. Yes. Very slowly, his voice practically begging, he said, I want to kiss you for the last time. I know it'll almost be torture for you, but afterwards I won't ask for anything more. You can go. May I? Will you let me? She shrank back involuntarily, but dared not refuse the poor wretch. Then, moved by shame and pity, she laid her head on his shoulder, turned her lips towards him, and shut her eyes. He gently pressed her to him, silently prolonging the happy moment. She opened her eyes, and seeing the terrible face almost touching her own, she shivered with disgust for the second time. She would have pulled away, but he passionately pressed her closer. You would leave so soon? Stay a little longer. You haven't seen enough of me. Look at me, and give me your mouth again. More of it than that. It's horrible, isn't it? You're hurting me, she moaned. Oh no, I frighten you, he sneered. She struggled. You're hurting me. You're hurting me. In a low voice, he said, Shh, shh, no noise. Be quiet. I've got you now, and I'll keep you. How many days have I waited for this moment? Keep still, I say. Keep still. No nonsense. You know I'm much stronger than you. He seized both of her hands in one of his, took a little bottle from his coat pocket, removed the stopper with his teeth, and continued in the same quiet voice. Yes, it's acid. Bend your head. There, you'll see. We'll be incomparable lovers, made for each other. Ah, you're trembling. Now, do you understand why I had you acquitted and made you come here? Your pretty face will be exactly like mine. You'll be a monstrous thing and blind, like me. Ah, yes, it hurts terribly. She opened her mouth to protest, but he cut her off. No, not that. Shut your mouth. I don't want to kill you. That would make it too easy. Gripping her in the bend of his arm, he pressed his hand over her mouth and poured the acid slowly over her forehead, eyes, and cheeks. She struggled desperately, but he held her firmly and continued pouring as he talked. There, only a little more. Bite me all you want. That's nothing. It hurts, doesn't it? It's hell. Suddenly, he flung her away and cried, I'm burning myself. She fell to the floor, writhing. Already, her face was nothing but a red rag. He stumbled over on his way to the light switch, and then, all around them, as within them, was a great darkness. Considering I will die tonight, I'm writing this under significant distress. I am broke and at the end of my drug supply. It's the only thing that makes life bearable. I cannot stand this torture any longer. I'll jump out of this attic window and into the dirty street below. Do not think I'm weak or a degenerate just because of my addiction to morphine. When you've read these hastily scrawled words, you might begin to see why my only options are to forget or to die. But you will never be able to fully understand. Our cargo ship was attacked by a German sea raider on one of the most secluded parts of the Pacific. It was at the beginning of the Great War, and the Hun's naval forces were still at full strength. Our ship was a noteworthy prize, and the crew were treated with fairness and consideration as war prisoners. Our captors soon grew too comfortable, and 5 days later, I managed to escape in a small boat with enough food and water to last a good while. When I was finally free, I had no idea where I was. I have never been a good navigator. Based on the sun and stars, I guessed that I was somewhat south of the equator, but I did not know the longitude, and there was no island or coast in sight. The weather was fair, and I drifted aimlessly under the scorching sun for countless days while waiting to see land or a ship. But neither appeared. I became depressed as I floated alone across the endless blue sea. The change happened while I slept, but I'll never know how. Though my sleep was filled with troubled dreams, it was uninterrupted. When I finally woke, it was to find myself half sucked into a slimy swampland of hellish black sludge that extended as far as I could see, and my boat was grounded in the distance. Though one might expect my first reaction to be shock at the extremely surprising change of scenery, I was actually more terrified than anything. There was a sinister quality in the air and putrid soil that chilled me to my core. The ground was littered with rotting fish and indescribable things that stuck out from the nasty mud. Mere words cannot express the unspeakable horrors found in the absolute silence of vast, empty spaces. There was nothing to see or hear except for an endless sea of black slime. Yet the landscape's monotony and total stillness filled me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing, and the cruel, cloudless sky was almost black, as if it were reflecting the inky ground. As I crawled into my stranded boat, I realized there was only one theory that could explain my situation. Through some kind of volcanic eruption, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing areas that had remained hidden for millions of years. The new land was so large that I couldn't hear the surging ocean, no matter how hard I listened. There were no birds eating the dead things either. I sat in the boat, thinking and sulking for several hours. Now that it was laid on its side, the boat offered some shade from the sun. As the day progressed, the ground became less sticky, and it seemed like it would dry enough to travel for a short time. I slept little that night, and the next day, I packed my food and water in preparation for a journey. I planned to set out on foot in search of the missing sea and possible rescue. On the third morning, the soil was dry enough to walk easily. The stench of the fish was maddening, but I had much bigger concerns and boldly continued my adventure. All day, I marched west using the highest mound on the rolling landscape as my guide. That night, I made camp, and the following day, I continued walking toward the mound. It hardly seemed any closer than on day one. By the fourth evening, I made it to the bottom and realized the mound was much taller than it appeared from a distance. Too exhausted to climb up, I slept in the hill's shadow. I do not know why my dreams were so wild that night, but I woke in a cold sweat when the half-full moon was high above the eastern plain. I decided to stay awake. The things I saw were too horrible to relive, and in the moon's glow, I realized how unwise it had been to travel by day. Without the parching sun's glare, my journey would have cost less energy. Now, I felt quite able to make the climb that discouraged me at sunset. Retrieving my pack, I started up the mound. I've said the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was horrifying, but I was even more frightened when I reached the summit. Down the other side, I saw an immeasurable pit, but the moon was not yet high enough to light up its black crevices. It felt like I was on the edge of the world, looking over the rim into the infinite chaos of eternal night. Mixed in with my terror were odd memories of paradise lost and Satan's hideous climb through the realms of darkness. As the moon rose higher, I began to see the valley's slopes were not quite as perpendicular as I imagined. Ledges and rock protrusions provided fairly easy footholds for climbing down, and after a few hundred feet, the drop lessened gradually. Urged on by an impulse I cannot explain, I scrambled down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath, gazing into the black depths where the light had yet to reach. Suddenly, I noticed a huge object on the steep slope opposite my position, and it gleamed white in the moon's rays. I reassured myself it was only a gigantic piece of stone, but I was aware that its shape and location were not nature's doing. A closer inspection filled me with sensations I cannot express. Despite its enormous size and the fact that it sat at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I knew without a doubt it was a statue. Living and thinking creatures had worked on, and perhaps even worshipped, this massive object. Though dazed and frightened, I felt a certain thrill of scientific delight as I examined my surroundings more closely. The moon, now near its highest point, shined weirdly and vividly above the towering peaks surrounding the valley. It revealed a body of water flowing at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet on the slope. Across the chasm, the waves washed the base of the ancient statue, and I could see traces of inscriptions and crude sculptures. The hieroglyphics were unknown to me, and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books. They mostly consisted of conventional aquatic symbols such as fish, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, and whales. Several characters obviously represented marine life unknown to the modern world, but I witnessed many of their decomposing bodies along my journey. Thanks to their enormous size, a group of statues were plainly visible on the other side of the valley. I think these things were meant to resemble men. The creatures appeared to be worshipping some kind of monolithic shrine that was also beneath the waves. I dare not speak of their features in detail. The mere thought of it makes me feel faint. They were more grotesque than even Poe could imagine. Their general shapes were unquestionably human, despite having webbed hands and feet, wide, flabby lips, bulging eyes, and other unpleasant features. They were also carved out of proportion with their background. One of the creatures was in the process of killing a whale that was only a little larger than itself. After a moment's thought, I decided they must be the imaginary gods of some primitive tribe, one whose last descendant died ages before the first Neanderthal were born. This unexpected glimpse into the past was far beyond what any anthropologist could dare to imagine. I stood there, contemplating this while the moon cast strange reflections on the silent waters before me. Then, I suddenly saw something giant and repulsive emerge from the dark waters. Only a slight ripple indicated its rise to the surface. The nightmarish monster darted to the monolith and flung its enormous, scaly arms around it, while bowing its hideous head and crying. I think I went mad. I don't remember much of my frantic climb up the slope or delirious journey back to the boat. I believe I sang a lot and laughed when I was unable to sing. I have partial memories of a big storm happening at some point after reaching the boat. I know I heard thunder, and the other sounds seemed to also be from bad weather. The next time I woke, I was in a San Francisco hospital. I'd been brought there by the captain of an American ship that found my boat in the middle of the ocean. I said many things in my delirious state, but no one paid any attention to my words. The people who rescued me knew nothing about the landmass in the Pacific, and I decided not to bother them with it. Eventually, I asked a respected professor who specialized in ancient societies a few questions about the Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god. But I gave up soon after his conservative beliefs became obvious. At night, especially when the moon is half full, I still see that thing. I tried morphine, but it only provides temporary relief. And it has turned me into a hopeless slave. Now that I've written a full account to inform or amuse my fellow man, I will end it all. I often ask myself if it could have been pure fantasy, a heat stroke-induced hallucination as I laid raving in the boat after my escape. But I always see the same hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shivering at the nameless things that may be crawling on its slimy bottom, worshipping their ancient stone idols, and carving their own disgusting images on giant slabs of submerged granite. I dream of a day when they might rise above the waters to drag the puny remnants of mankind down in their horrible talons, of a day when the land will sink and the ocean's dark floor will rise among universal chaos. The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as if some giant slippery body is moving against it. It will not find me. God, that hand. The window. The window. Well, friends, it appears we've reached the end of tonight's very special episode. Thanks for joining me. Whether it's your first time or you're a regular, your support means the world over here. Obviously, tonight's stories weren't true, but I'd really like to know what you thought about them. So, let me know in the comments. If it's something you enjoyed, I'll consider doing these more often. But remember, we've got brand new episodes every Friday night, and keep those eyes open for those deep sleep videos. And of course, subscribe, tap the bell, and you'll never miss a thing. Special thanks to the Darkest Hour channel members: Lori TESDAHL, Sarah Marie, Robert Bailey, T. COLTDADDY Eagle, Mallory Dominguez, Kari Watkins, Pilar Guiu, TREDEN WIXSON, Larry Hill, Ripley, JOJO STARCHER, Mary Patrick, Debbie LaFreniere, Julie Bourdelais, Jennifer Beck, Marina LACHNER, Make Hamilton Home, Evan Pratt, Mary Hineline, Katharine Yes.ImtherealKatie Isabelle, Landshark, Danielle Hecht, Mama P, Keziah Peterson, Amber Baker, Khris Lauzon, Kara Geos, Marvin Allen, Forgotten Ruins TV, Raven Wolf, Carlos, Stacia Gillette, Nate Black, Jill Harper, Kathy Balkenbush, Cosmic Chick, Sierra Guerrero, Deanna Kuzma. And big thanks to those who shared their stories. A huge shout out to all of our patrons, whom we appreciate so very much. Tracy S., Mary H., Tanya F., Tamara K., Monica L., Zoe Watt, Shelley B., Donald C., Marion T., Rat Girl, Alicia S., Aaron G., Nikki H., Mr. Revenant, Naz K., Brendan G., Paul T., Nicholas C., Tony P., Lizanne, Arlene F., Adrian, T.F. Parham, Jason G., Lori T., and Bobo Jenkins. If you out there want to support the Darkest Hour in other ways, consider joining our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/thedarkesthour or click the link in the description to learn more. If you have scary stories you want to hear me read on the channel, send them to me. I'd love to hear them. Amanda, darkesthour@gmail.com, or on the Darkest Hour subreddit, The Darkest Hour YT. Stay spooky.